The night before my wedding was supposed to feel magical. A quiet moment to breathe before the chaos of the big day, a chance to soak in the excitement. And for a while, it did. My dress hung by the window, glowing softly under the city lights. The venue was ready, the honeymoon tickets tucked safely in my suitcase. I traced my fingers along the edge of my veil, heart fluttering. By this time tomorrow, I'd be Emma Carter, wife to Daniel Carter, the man I loved, the man I trusted. I had no idea my world was about to shatter. It happened so casually, like fate was setting a trap and waiting for me to step in. Daniel had left his phone on my dresser, face up, screen glowing. I wasn't the type to snoop. I never had a reason to. But then, a message popped up. A name I didn't recognize. My first instinct was to ignore it. Tomorrow was our wedding, the happiest day of my life. But my fingers moved before my brain could stop them. I swiped, opened the thread, and in seconds my heart stopped beating. There it was, a flood of messages, some playful, some intimate, all damning. My hands trembled as I scrolled. They had been together for months. Months. While I was picking out flower arrangements and tasting cakes, he was whispering promises to someone else. The final text hit like a knife to my gut. I can't wait until tomorrow's over. I just want to be with you. My stomach twisted, my vision blurred. The walls of my perfect life crumbled in an instant. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, my skin burned, my hands gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. This couldn't be real. Daniel, my Daniel, wouldn't do this to me. But the proof was right there, glaring at me in cold, merciless detail. My pulse pounded in my ears as I read message after message, each one worse than the last. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It wasn't a drunken lapse in judgment. This was a secret life he had been living behind my back for months. Tears burned at the back of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wouldn't break. Not for him. My first instinct was to scream, to storm into his hotel room, throw the phone at his face and demand answers. But what would that change? He'd deny it at first, then he'd twist it, try to make me doubt what I'd seen, maybe even beg for forgiveness. And in the end, he'd still believe he had won. That's how men like Daniel operate. They take, they deceive, and they assume you'll forgive them because that's what love is supposed to mean. No, not this time. A strange calm settled over me, smothering the panic. I stared at my reflection in the mirror across the room. My face looked the same, but something in my eyes had changed. The woman standing there wasn't the same one who had woken up this morning, giddy with excitement for her wedding day. That version of me was gone. What remained was someone sharper, someone colder, someone who wasn't going to let him get away with this. I wasn't going to call off the wedding. Oh no, that would be too easy. I sat there for what felt like hours, my mind racing, my heart thudding against my ribs. I should have felt devastated. I should have been curled up on the floor, sobbing, questioning everything. But instead, a different thought took hold. If I called off the wedding, Daniel would just move on, spin a story, play the victim. People would whisper, wonder what I had done wrong. He'd get away with it. And I couldn't let that happen. No, I wanted him to feel what I was feeling right now. That gut-wrenching, soul-crushing realization that everything he thought was safe was about to collapse beneath him. I wanted him to smile at me at the altar, completely unaware of the storm brewing right in front of him. I wanted him to believe, for just a little longer, that he had won. Slowly I exhaled, my grip on his phone loosening. I set it back on the dresser, exactly where he left it, as if I had never touched it at all. The old me, the naive, trusting bride, would have confronted him. But I wasn't her anymore. I was something else now. Tomorrow, I would walk down that aisle. I would say my vows. I would kiss my husband. And then, when the moment was right, I would rip his world apart. By morning, I had perfected my performance. Every breath, every smile, every careful movement was rehearsed to perfection. As I sat in the bridal suite, surrounded by my bridesmaids, I played my part flawlessly, the blushing bride, the woman on the verge of the happiest day of her life. My mother fussed over my veil, my best friend Olivia poured mimosas, and the room hummed with laughter and excitement. No one had any idea, if only they knew. The dress felt heavier than I remembered, but maybe that was because I wasn't the same woman who had tried it on weeks ago, spinning in front of the mirror with stars in her eyes. That woman had believed in forever. This one? This one was counting down the hours until she could shatter the illusion. The thought sent a thrill through me. I wasn't just walking into a wedding today, I was walking into battle, and Daniel had no idea. I forced myself to glance at my phone, pretending to check last-minute details, when really I was confirming something far more important. The honeymoon reservation, the flight tickets, a few quick taps, and the change was official. Daniel's name erased, Olivia's name in its place. My lips curled into a private smile. He thought he was getting a honeymoon. He had no idea I'd be the only one boarding that plane. The ceremony was beautiful. Perfect, even. Every guest sat in quiet awe, the air thick with love and admiration. The music swelled, the soft rustling of fabric and hushed whispers filling the space. And there I was, standing at the altar, staring into the eyes of a man who had no idea his world was about to come crashing down. Daniel smiled at me like I was his greatest treasure, his voice steady as he spoke his vows. Lies. Every word, every promise, every lingering look. It was all a fabrication, built on betrayal. I felt nothing. Not the rush of nerves I'd expected, not the overwhelming joy I was supposed to feel. Just a cold, burning satisfaction. Let him believe. Let him think he'd fooled me. The minister asked if I took him to be my husband, and I let out the softest, sweetest yes imaginable. The guests sighed, some even teared up. Daniel squeezed my hands, convinced he had me wrapped around his finger. If only he knew what those hands had done hours before, how they had rewritten his fate with a few simple keystrokes. The applause erupted as we sealed it with a kiss, and just like that, it was official. I was Emma Carter, his wife, his partner, his equal. At least that's what he thought. By the time the reception was in full swing, I was the perfect bride, graceful, glowing, completely in love. Or at least, that's what everyone saw. The room was alive with music, laughter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Guests danced, toasts were made, and Daniel basked in the attention, oblivious to the knife I was holding behind my back. I watched him from across the room, his arms slung around his best man, grinning like he had the world in his hands. He had no idea that with one small change, one simple act, his perfect little world was already slipping through his fingers. While he drank and celebrated, I had already secured my victory. The airline confirmation sat neatly in my inbox. His name was gone, Olivia's name in its place. It was almost too easy. I moved through the crowd, accepting hugs, thanking guests, laughing in all the right places. Even Olivia played along, her lips curving with the kind of secret only the two of us shared. She knew. And when the time came, she'd be there, waiting at the airport, sipping a cocktail, ready to take off on the honeymoon of a lifetime. Daniel had no idea, but his honeymoon wasn't going to be with his wife. That night, I played my role flawlessly. The devoted wife, the happy newlywed, the woman still blissfully unaware of the man she had just married. Daniel had no clue. Not a single doubt flickered in his eyes as he pulled me close during our first dance, as he whispered sweet nothings into my ear, as he led me away from the reception, eager to begin our wedding night. I let him. The hotel suite was stunning, rose petals on the bed, champagne chilling on the nightstand, everything arranged for the perfect romantic evening. I smiled, sipped my champagne, let him kiss me. But the moment his fingers traced down my arm, I gently pulled away. "I just need a minute," I murmured, my voice soft, laced with exhaustion. He chuckled, running a hand through his hair. "Long day, huh?" If only he knew. I stepped into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. My heart pounded, but not with nerves or excitement. No, this was something else entirely. Anticipation. My suitcase was already packed, hidden beneath the bed. My plane ticket was confirmed. And in just a few hours, I'd be gone. Gone. I barely slept. I didn't need to. The adrenaline coursing through my veins was better than any caffeine, keeping me wired, alert. Every detail of my escape was etched into my mind, playing on repeat like a well-rehearsed scene. The moment the sun rose, I'd be gone. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just silence, followed by the sound of my plane taking off without him. Daniel slept soundly beside me, his arm draped over my waist like he had a right to me, like I was his. I stared at the ceiling, my breath steady, my mind already miles away. He had no idea that with every second that passed, he was slipping further and further from the life he thought he had secured. At exactly 5 a.m., I slipped out of bed. Slowly, carefully. My pulse pounded in my ears, but my hands remained steady. My suitcase was already packed, hidden just out of sight. I grabbed it, tiptoeing across the room, barely daring to breathe. I reached the door. One last glance over my shoulder. Daniel, still asleep, still clueless. I smiled. Then, without hesitation, I stepped out and never looked back. The hotel hallway was silent, the world still caught in the haze of early morning. Each step felt lighter than the last, the weight on my shoulders lifting with every inch I put between myself and that room. By the time I reached the lobby, I wasn't just walking. I was free. A car was already waiting for me outside, just as I had planned. I slid into the back seat, exhaling for what felt like the first time in hours. The driver gave me a polite nod through the rearview mirror. Airport? I nodded. Yes, and step on it. As the car pulled away, I checked my phone one last time. No missed calls, no frantic messages, not yet. Daniel was still sound asleep, wrapped in the illusion that everything was fine. That his wife was right there beside him. That illusion wouldn't last much longer. The moment I arrived at the airport, I sent the message. Short, simple, unmistakable. Enjoy your time alone, I know everything. Then, before he even had the chance to react, I blocked his number, turned off my phone, and smiled. Because my honeymoon was just beginning. By the time my plane left the runway, I was sipping champagne at 30,000 feet, my laughter lost in the hum of the engines. Olivia clinked her glass against mine, her grin just as sharp as mine. To the best honeymoon ever, she said, smirking. I leaned back in my seat, stretching my legs, letting the warm buzz of victory settle in my chest. To freedom, I corrected, savoring the words as they left my lips. Somewhere miles below, Daniel was probably just waking up. He'd reach for me, expecting my warmth beside him, only to find cold, empty sheets. Maybe he'd check his phone first, thinking I had just gone downstairs for breakfast. And then he'd see my message. I know everything. I could almost picture his face, the confusion, the slow realization, the dawning horror. He'd rush to the airport, demanding answers, trying to fix what was already broken beyond repair. And when he finally reached the airline counter, ready to demand his seat next to his wife, he'd hear the truth. His name wasn't on the ticket. I had erased him. The first morning in paradise was nothing short of perfect. White sand, crystal clear water, the scent of salt and sunscreen hanging in the warm breeze. Olivia and I stretched out on sun loungers, our skin kissed by the sun, our drinks cold and sweet. If anyone asked, I was just another newlywed on her honeymoon. And in a way, I was, just not with the man who thought he had me fooled. I checked my phone, knowing exactly what I'd find. 20 missed calls, countless texts, the desperation in his words growing more frantic with each unread message. Emma, where are you? What's going on? Baby, please, we need to talk. This isn't funny. Just tell me where you are. I smirked, tilting my sunglasses down. Oh, but it was hilarious. I imagined him back home, scrambling to come up with a lie, realizing, too late, that there was no way out of this one. His friends, his family, all asking the same question. Where's your wife, Daniel? I snapped a photo of my cocktail, perfectly framed against the ocean, and posted it for everyone to see. The caption, best honeymoon ever. By midday, the messages had slowed, but I knew Daniel wasn't done. He was probably pacing, running through every possible excuse, every pathetic attempt to regain control. But this time, there was no fixing it. No half-truths, no pretty words to smooth over the cracks. The damage was done, and I had made sure everyone knew. Olivia glanced at my phone, raising an eyebrow. Still begging? I took another sip of my drink, sighing dramatically. Oh, you know. The usual. Denial, bargaining, a sprinkle of desperation. She laughed, shaking her head. I almost feel bad for him. I grinned. Almost. The reality was setting in for him now. While I was lounging in a private cabana, basking in the glow of my freedom, Daniel was unraveling. His friends were starting to ask questions. His family was piecing things together. Soon, the whispers would turn into full-blown conversations. And then his perfect image would be shattered. And I wouldn't even have to lift a finger. I leaned back, closing my eyes as the sun warmed my skin. This was more than a honeymoon. This was justice. I knew it was coming before I even turned my phone back on. The moment the screen lit up, there it was. One last message from Daniel. Short. Pathetic. A desperate grasp at something long gone. Please, let's talk. I made a mistake. A mistake. That's what he called it. Not months of lies. Not the betrayal, the deception, the night spent in someone else's arms while I planned a future for us. Just a simple, fixable mistake. Olivia peeked over my shoulder, reading the message before I even had a chance to react. She scoffed. Wow, that's what he's going with? I stared at the words for a moment, letting the weight of it settle. The old me might have hesitated, might have wanted to hear him out, let him explain, let him twist the story until it sounded almost reasonable. But I wasn't her anymore. I smirked, my fingers flying over the screen as I typed my final response. The only mistake was thinking I'd stay. And with that, I hit send. I didn't wait for his reply. There was nothing left to say. Whatever excuse he was scrambling to come up with, whatever apology he was rehearsing in his head, it didn't matter. His words had no power over me anymore. I slid my phone into my bag, turning my attention back to the view in front of me. The turquoise waves stretched endlessly, the sun dipping low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. It was stunning, peaceful, mine. Olivia lifted her glass in my direction, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. To the woman who just gave the biggest middle finger to a cheating husband in history. I laughed, raising my own glass to meet hers. To new beginnings. As the first sip of champagne fizzed against my lips, I felt it. A weight lifting, a door closing. The past slipping further away with each passing second. Tomorrow, I'd step off the plane as a single woman, not heartbroken, not ruined, but free. And that was the real honeymoon. The airport buzzed with life, travelers rushing past, announcements echoing overhead. But for me, time felt slower, lighter. I rolled my suitcase beside me, my steps steady, my heart steady. No hesitation, no second guessing. As I walked through the terminal, my phone stayed silent. Daniel had given up, or maybe he was still trying to piece together the ruins of his carefully crafted life. Either way, I didn't care. His voice, his face, his lies, they were nothing but background noise now. Then, I heard it. My name. I turned to see Olivia waiting by the exit, a drink in hand, her expression effortlessly smug. Figured we should toast before we step back into reality, she said, handing me a cup. I took it, smiling as I met her gaze. To what? She shrugged. To you. To us. To revenge. Take your pick. I chuckled, raising my cup. To freedom. As we stepped outside, the cool air hit my skin, crisp and new. I inhaled deeply, letting it fill my lungs. The past was behind me. The future stretched wide open in front of me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely alive. This wasn't the ending I had planned. It was better.